Hey there, welcome to Coffee with Connie. I'm Connie Fuksa with Foote Title Group, coming to you a little bit later this morning than I usually do. I had to take care of something first, but I wanted to get touch base with you. I love it when you guys ask me questions because I have material that I'd like to talk about based on questions that others ask, but I love it when specifically somebody reaches out to me and asks a particular question, because if that person has the question, more than likely a lot of the rest of you do as well. So the other day I got a question from a good friend about the titling of your property if something was to happen to you. And this particular person was talking to me about friends that they have that are a little bit older that maybe just don't know if they have things done the right way. So if something happens to them, that their property goes to the people that they want it to. So you can do a will, and in some states the will governs what happens to your property. In some states, the way that you have it titled governs what happens to your property. Now let's talk about this for a minute. When I say titled, I talked to you a couple weeks ago about tenancy, and that is the way you own the property if you own it with someone else. But so let's say, for example, you own a piece of property with your spouse and your spouse passes away, and then you own the property all by yourself after that. What do you do to make sure that the property is owned by who you want it to if something happens to you and there's no one else left on the title? Where does it go? What happens to your home? And there's different ways you can do it. In different states, as I said, it's regulated in different ways. So you need to check in your particular state how that would take place. In some states, the will would govern what happens. In other states, it doesn't have to be the will. It is who is listed in that person's estate. The one thing I do want to tell you is there's a couple things you can do in advance if you want to make sure that the property is going to a specific person. You can add that particular person to the ownership of your property. Now, let's say that you have a couple different homes and you're the only owner on two different homes and you have two children, and you want to make sure that one child gets one home and the other one gets the other. Add them to the ownership. But let's say you're afraid to add them to the ownership because you don't want them to go and sell the house out from under you while you're still there. There's something called a life estate where you can set up that as soon as something happens to you, that person owns that property and they are listed on the deed. And the life estate is designated. So you own that property as long as you're alive. You can do with whatever you want with that property as long as you're alive, even though they're added on that ownership. But as soon as you pass, that property goes automatically to them. So it's a good tool to understand, to make sure, when I say tool, to make sure that your property goes exactly where you want it to if something happens to you. Obviously, you can handle it in your will as well. You want to make sure that those directions are taken care of. If you do it through a will, in some states, you're going to have to pay some, the surviving person is going to have to pay some estate taxes. If you add them to the ownership, they already are an owner, so they don't have to pay those taxes. And then there's other ways you can do it through a trust and other types of things. I am not an attorney, so I'm not going to sit here and give you legal advice, but I am going to tell you that there are some different options and there's some things you should look at if you're a sole owner of a property and maybe you're a little bit older and you want to make sure that you are having that property go in the direction you want it to if something happens to you. So as always, I like to try to give you some information that maybe spurs another question, maybe answers a question for you, or maybe spurs a conversation, because there's so many different nuances with respect to real estate that we want to make sure that you know where the professionals are to ask the right questions. And as I said, I'm not an attorney. We do closings. I've been doing closings for more than 30 years, so we have a little bit of experience with those different things. But if I don't have the answers, we have a lot of professionals we work with in other arenas in the real estate market that can help us get those answers for you and get things taken care of. So as I said, I love getting questions from you guys. So feel free to reach out and let me know about things you don't understand or maybe that you have a question about. Message me privately if you don't want to talk in the crowd. I love it when you guys ask questions because it helps me help others just like you that probably have the same question. So hope you guys have a fantastic day. Enjoy this gorgeous weather, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks so much for tuning in to Coffee with Connie. I'm Connie Fuksa with Foote Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. Have a fantastic day, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.